Howdy, partners. I'm Fish Grakowski here to my left on your screen with Nathan Martin. Um, Another Mando Lore episode, penultimate episode of season 2, chapter 15, The Believer.
Mm-hmm.
I believed in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
It was good. It wasn't anything overly spectacular. It definitely felt like a setup to, oh, here we go. There's one more episode. Here we go. It didn't. I mean, this is one of the first episodes this season that I was kind of like, okay, like I don't know what I was expecting from it, so I have to take that into consideration for a criticism. But I thought Bill Burr did a fantastic job. I think my problem with it wasn't so much what the episode itself offered, but my own expectations going into it, because the entire time I was waiting for his character to betray Mando, and he doesn't. And then in the end, they let him go, which I kind of figured they would anyway. But it was just this thing of like, oh, so he just murked everyone in that station, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun. This is so weird. I kind of was hoping for a flatter episode because the last two have been crazy, right? Like Ahsoka and Boba Fett. That's spoilers as ever. But so in a way, I kind of wanted something that didn't matter so much. And my cat woke me up at midnight, so I actually watched this thing at 2 a.m, and then I watched it again. And the first time I watched it, I was kind of like, I just felt like it was a video game with some pretty good cutscenes. The second time I watched it, like I really kind of loved it. Like it's just kind of like subtly there. I would say what I like almost the most about it is it's really actually Mayfield's story. Like that hasn't really happened in this show. I know earlier I was kind of hoping for an all Grogu episode. This episode, don't get me wrong, there's some Mando stuff, but I mean, it really was about fleshing out who Mayfield was, and he was, I think, the best part of that prison break episode. You know what I mean? It's just like, I wasn't a stormtrooper. Like, he was funny. And I like Robot Zero or whatever, but but in this one, thanks to his encounter with the Night King, PS, from Game of Thrones, which was awesome. Richard Brake played that scary Imperial guy, Valen Hess. But I really liked all the philosophy they were kind of throwing around in this episode. And I particularly liked the scene in that tank where they're driving towards the base, where he's basically like trying to kind of excuse his bad behavior, basically saying kind of like, it seems to me like your rules start to change when you get desperate. And he's basically saying, like, if you can sleep at the end of the day, good enough. And so I just really appreciated that kind of like non-extreme good versus evil. Like, this is sort of the realm of the bounty hunters, which we liked in the last episode too. So philosophically, I just thought this one was choice. Like, this felt, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best writing I've ever read in my life or anything, but for like a Star Wars action show, I thought it was great that they were really getting into this like thing about, like, we've seen more of the Empire now, almost in this episode. You just see kind of like the back shops of the Empire, like when they drive up in the tank and everybody's cheering for them. Those are like soldiers, and there's actually like miners cheering for them and stuff. And you're like, some of these people, like, not everybody here is Darth Vader. And so I just really liked getting to know that world. And I mean, and so we have these kind of like just kind of rando soldiers and everything cheering for them. And then of course we get to this like sort of cartoonishly evil Valen Hess, Richard Drake. That whole scene in, hey, look, my cat's hanging out. She's photobombing. But that scene with Richard Drake was I thought really great too.
No, this episode is very much continuing with the themes that we've been dealing with throughout the first and second, like the themes that they're dealing with, which is constantly this season being brought up of are we really better off with the rebellion or the New Republic? And I thought that what I really loved what this episode did was, as you know, twirling mustache villain was laying out they want control, they want to be told what to do, kind of thing.
Order.
Yeah, the order. The Bill Burr's character, you see him subtly but slowly. He's in his mind. He's slowly deciding what he wants to do as he's talking to that guy. And when he makes his decision to just flat out, like, you know what, no, no, and it's just bang, 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 and then you get into that whole thing, and you're just like, I really liked that slow turn, and still dealing with what this show is constantly asking the audience, which is that question between, like, well, the good guys won, but is it better? Is it worse? And they're showing you how the Empire is constantly thinking like, well, of course we're going to come back into power, because they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And then, of course, also saying all that kind of stuff and just disposing. Like, after all of the speeches of him sitting there being like, we went to what was the battle that they were talking about?
Oh, Operation Cinder, they call it.
Operation, yeah. So he talks
Battlefront, I think. Yeah.
He talks about Operation Cinder and how, their families had lost loved ones and yada, yada, yada. And then just blows up the base.
Well, okay, I don't want to disagree with you, but actually, I liked that he shoots the 2 tanks and the tanks blow up and they explode, but the base actually doesn't blow up.
No.
And so it's just it's so Star Wars that someone will shoot a thing and then that causes, the dominoes fall and the whole thing blows up. I mean, go back to the Death Star.
Yeah.
By design, as we learned in Rogue One. But I actually like that ultimately Mayfield still has maybe something to do. Like, he's maybe going to start a rebellion on that planet, because I actually didn't get the feeling that everybody died. It's kind of funny because they drive in and there's like, it feels like about 100 or so stormtroopers, and then they go into the cafeteria, which, by the way, is like right beside like a garage, so it probably stink in there. But then all those troopers, I mean, I don't know where they went, but they're kind of gone. I still feel like there's a lot of people, and that didn't end that story there. Not that I need to see it, but I like this idea that Mayfield's just kind of wandering off into the woods, and it's just like big question mark. And I really agree with you about the idea of like seeing his wheels turn, and I thought that was so great, because basically, and that was some of the best acting and character development I've seen on this show. Like, just the way he just kind of gets squinty and he just sort of leans back and he's just like, I have to shoot you. Like, no, I can't take this. I can't. I'm like, that was basically like PTSD.
Yes.
And he shoots them, and then he turns right away to Mando and he says like, I didn't see your face. Like, he knows right away, okay, I screwed up, so I'm going to pay you back, and let's not worry about me teasing you about the helmet anymore. And what I really like about those two characters together is it really kind of shows that Din Djarin is kind of like Jin Djarin. Anyway, I was going to call him dumb, and I'm dumb. But basically, he's not all that, like, Mayfield is way more clever and savvy than him. Like, he basically is toast. Like, that Valen Hess Imperial guy has him. Like, he doesn't even know what a TK chain code kind of thing is or anything. He's toast. And Mayfield jumps in and saves him. And I kind of dig that. Like I'm reading Conan novels right now, and Robert E. Howard basically said, like, I like this guy because he's smart enough, but he's not really smart.
No.
And then this has always been Mando's thing. Like, even him sending that kind of nasty voice message at the end, which is so awesome.
That was really good.
Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah, that was really awesome.
It's probably not a very great tactical move, like, unless you have an army or something. But he's basically like, he's trolling him.
Yeah.
Because he's so mad about the whole thing.
And to be fair, pardon me, Gideon looked a little worried.
Yeah.
like at the end of that episode, he starts off with that message, and by the end of Mando's message, he looked a little worried, and it was just like, oh. But I still don't think they're going to get Grogu back at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, my instinct agrees with you in that last season at this point we were cornered in the bar on Navarro. Things were looking really bad, whereas and then IG-11 comes in and kind of saves the day. This feels like they're kind of coming in strong, and so I feel like we're going to get some Empire Strikes Back here. Like nobody's not going to watch season 3, and so I really
exactly.
Obviously, like you can make the stakes really high. No Grogu in this episode either.
No,
which is the first time that's happened, and that was interesting. I dug it. It made it seem like there was no kind of cute, lovey thing. It was cool, like Boba Fett's cool, and that thing with when they show Slave One with the gyroscopic platform, like I'm just like, oh man, that's so cool.
That's all,
like, yeah, that was awesome. Because even the toy had some element of that, like with the I bring it up, but I actually don't have it here. The toy, like when you tilt it, like the flippers on the side would kind of like they'd always stay with gravity.
Oh,
but yeah, I don't know, man. It's just there's always so much to discuss in this show, but I really feel like this one, it felt like kind of a video game with good cutscenes, but and kind of a placeholder. And yet the more I think about it, the more I kind of think that some of the most interesting concepts of the show were kind of laid bare from various certain points of view. And I did that. Like I like understanding why Valen Hess thinks like, well, whoever wins gets to write history roughly, like,
right.
Still standing. Which gets him killed, of course, but I just super and just getting back to Mayfield's that opening scene on the scrap planet, like it's like the planet of the broken TIE fighters. I love that the Empire actually recycles a little bit. And I mean, I don't know if there's much else to say. Like I love the sharpshooters sitting up on the hill, like there's that kind of fight on top of the train sort of convention thing, which I thought that felt a little colonial in its way, but like he's like chucks a spear and kills a guy, but and that felt the most like a video game. Like we've all played a video game where you fight someone and then you fight them and they're tougher, and then you fight, and at the end there's 5 skiffs and every single person on a skiff has a thermal detonator. Like, come on, right? Like it's just like, and then as usual Deus Ex Machina TIE fighters come in, but whatever. I mean, sometimes I would say overall one of the things I like about this episode too is I didn't see this coming particularly. No. Like I didn't think that this is where we were going to go. So
yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for that reason. I can completely say that it's this season has been, I think, very exceptional. And I think because of that expectation, you go into some episodes and you're just like, what am I going to get? And with this, it's very much, it was a very good episode. And I think it, not so much in terms of just action, because the action was fun. The action on the show is great. But I think in terms of once they got to the base, and that's kind of where the actual episode takes place. And it ends in a shootout, which, hey, explosions, I love. But I love I really appreciated the turn that happened there. And seeing Pedro out of a helmet for a lot longer than just a couple of seconds. And him sort of reacting to the world around him, where he is now vulnerable in his own mind. He is vulnerable and exposed, and he doesn't really know what to do. So he's relying on someone that he's not even sure he can trust to help him out. And then, chaos ensues and then things blow up. And
I resist things like this because I'm a monster sometimes, but I mean, like, this episode's all about love and dedication. And even the title of it, As the Believer, I was trying to figure out who the believer was, and in a sense, I think it's about Mando's beliefs being tested, and it's about, you know, that Balin Hess believing that the Empire is right. I think I'm not sure who the believer is supposed to be, but I think it can be anybody in a certain sense.
Yeah.
But certainly it is his quest, and I think we can finally really, like, that's just his son. Like, he really is just chasing his son. He's like, no,
Yeah.
there's no way. And so, I mean, that sets up some tension later. It's just like, he can't let Grogu go. Like, it's
No.
impossible. Like, he would have to die. I feel, which I also think might happen someday.
There's a
Maybe
possibility.
or something. Yeah. You got anything else about this episode?
No, I just, no, it was just, it's one of those things where it's just, yeah.
Do you want to, do you want to maybe talk about, you know, we have 9 new Star Wars shows. Like, we can't do 9 review shows.
Who says?
I mean,
who says we can't? Who says
yeah,
that
I guess,
we can't
right.
do it?
Yeah, it's all we'll be doing. But I mean, like, I think of all of them, maybe let's not spend too long here, because
No.
you know, we have a lot of time to talk about it. But you know, we have a show called The Acolyte. We have Lando. We have a droid story, that anime thing coming. That sounds exciting. Andor, Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Bad Batch. Like, it's too much anyway. So, but I mean, I think the one that really gets me kind of going is the one that is the most mysterious, which is The Acolyte, which is supposed to happen, you know, at the end of the High Republic, which I don't know specifically what year that is or whatever.
No.
But I mean, it just sort of feels like that to me is a territory we haven't hung out in at all. So I'm sort of the most excited for that.
Yeah,
You know, like,
I think
maybe we'll see Darth Plagueis or something. Like, I don't know, but
yeah, I think jumping back into such early history of Star Wars is something that is probably the most interesting, just because you're not so tethered to what's within the movie canon, which I really like, because you can tell any kind of story. Both you and I predicted on like 3 episodes ago that Ahsoka was going to get her own series, so.
yeah.
We've been hearing about the Obi-Wan one for so long, but of course COVID and all that stuff has kind of mucked with it. But I like it. It's a lot. We'll see how much those are continuing series, or if they're just like a one-off. Hey, we told this story.
Yeah. Which I prefer. I want shorter stories. I agreed with you last week, ultimately, when I was thinking about it later, where it's just like, honestly, 7 seasons of Mando. I mean, it feels like we're kind of getting close to at least telling his story. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Lando? Of course, would be pretty awesome. I mean, we were talking about that last week too. Lando would be great. Andor, I wasn't excited about, but yeah. Sorry, go back. You were talking about Lando.
Yeah. Are they getting Donald Glover back for that?
That hasn't been announced yet. So
because he was awesome.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would do a Lando show without him.
Yeah.
And Billy D. Williams is still available. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know, who knows what you could do? You could do this like Lord of the Rings thing. Oh, I remember, because literally in Solo, he's talking about writing his own history. Like, that's part of Lando. And then he name drops a couple things from the Lando Calrissian novels. And you actually see this like crystal skull thing in Solo. Like, this is the loser stuff I always notice. But I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, bring it on, man.
Yeah.
And then Bad Bunch. I don't want to see. That's the Clone Wars. Those like kind of like anti-Care Bears, where, you know, they were these specialized clone troopers, and there was one guy who just was just yelling smash at everything, and then just like, oh god, that was like face palmy. But yeah, really excited for what's coming. So we'll have to decide what we're gonna review. I think Lando would be a good one. Ahsoka would be a good one. If Acolyte's looking good, maybe that. And I don't know, maybe we'll see how they deliver this. If it's all gonna layer like a sandwich every week, and there'll be 3 shows. I hope they stretch it out. We'll see.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, well, back to Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Next week, that's it. We're done.
Done.
So I'm pretty excited. I feel like like I said, my cat woke me up at midnight, and I was excited about this one. So I don't think I'll sleep the night before. So
Probably not.
groggy times, lots of coffee.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I kind of hope it's a longer episode.
Should we make a bet on who shows up?
Ooh.
Bo-Katan, Luke Skywalker, Admiral Thrawn, Jar Jar
Ooh.
Binks. Who else we got? Rick Oley, the pilot from the prequels. Just yeah. I think someone else is going to show up. We'll get that. That'll be the big deal at the end of it.
I think honestly, out of all the names you listed, if anyone was going to show up, it'd probably be Thrawn.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that would be my guess, because I don't see Ahsoka showing up. She's off on her own journey. Maybe Bo-Katan, because their missions are slowly coming closer and closer together.
I think it'd be hard for them to resist having the Mandalorians, the Mandalorian, and Boba Fett in one shot. That's guessing what I'm guessing about them, but I don't know. Maybe this will be one of the first episodes without Deus Ex Machina happening.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, this is the way.
This is the way.